Welcome back, Kings fans. This is Jesse Cohen. I'm reporting on the LA Kings practice from December 3rd, 2025. I think I said 2012 last time. Not a lot happening in practice, but since there was news, I thought I would hop on and do this, and that is that Drew Doughty and Warren Fogle did take the ice. Neither of them were in red, no contact jerseys. Both were in full contact mode. And the impression we got from both Warren Fogle and then later from Jim Hiller was that both of them would be possibly in the lineup tomorrow against the Chicago Blackhawks. No guarantee, but Warren Fogle definitely spoke as if he would be returning to the lineup very soon. So if not tomorrow, Saturday. And Jim Hiller implied that whether or not the decision had been made, that it could be made tomorrow, that Warren Fogle and Drew Doughty would be rejoining the lineup. So unclear what that would mean to the power play. They did not practice the power play today during practice. Phil Deneau took a maintenance day, so the lines were not as we have seen them normally. But everybody else, as far as I could tell, was out there. They had 7 defensemen again, so there was sort of a rotating cast of pairs on D. During some times, I think I saw Drew Doughty out there with Muvrari, Anderson, and Clark at various different times. I saw Dumoulin and Ceci out there together, but I also saw Dumoulin and Clark. I saw Anderson and Clark. It's just tons of pairs, so I don't think there's anything to take away from that. They did practice the shootout, such as it is. I'm not sure that you can practice the shootout. Apologies, I've got a bit of a sore throat this morning. But they were doing drills where guys were the whole roster sort of lined up at center ice and then took shots on the goalie. So they were doing that for a while. But yeah, that is pretty much the news from practice today. Again, for those joining, Warren Fogle and Drew Doughty both in full contact gear today at practice at the Toyota Sports Performance Center. Looks like they might go in tomorrow against the Chicago Blackhawks, and if not tomorrow, then Saturday against the Chicago Blackhawks. Two games against the Blackhawks coming up, and weirdly important games against the team I wouldn't have anticipated to be any good at this point in the season. But here we are, early December, and I think Chicago's just on the cusp of a playoff spot on the outside looking in. Let me go ahead and pull up the standings. I should know this. I was looking at them plenty last night, but if I'm not mistaken, Chicago's just on the outside looking into a playoff spot. Yeah, Chicago with 28 points, tied with the Seattle Kraken, but Chicago in third place in the wild card rankings. Meanwhile, the Kings in third place in the Pacific with 31 points. So opportunity to collect 4 points against a non-playoff team, but also they should be a tough matchup. Connor Bedard obviously playing incredibly well. Drew Doughty looked fine, Dan. Dan asking in the comments, Drew Doughty looked good. He was taking shots. He looked active. At one point, they were doing a sort of down low drill where it was Drew Doughty defending against 2 players on the other side. And he looked good. He looked active. He looked perfectly capable of playing the way Drew Doughty likes to play. Warren Fogle looked good. They both looked fine. And I asked Jim Hiller, excuse me, I asked Jim Hiller if it was if it could be interpreted as some sort of commentary on the severity of their illnesses that they skipped the part where they come back in a red no contact jersey. That's usually the protocol, is that a guy will have 1 or 2 practices in red no contact before then having 1 or 2 practices in full gear. This time we did see Warren Fogle, I think it was yesterday at the morning skate, in red no contact, and Drew has been skating on his own from what we've been told, but I had not seen Drew Doughty out with the team in a red no contact jersey. I saw Warren Fogle out with the team once, I believe, in a red no contact jersey. So I asked Jim Hiller, what is it, if anything, what does it mean that they just skipped that step? And he said it, is a matter of timing, that if it hadn't been for the optional morning skates, that, and the holiday weekend and all that, that we probably would have seen both of them have more than one practice in red no contact. So as it turns out, I just keep repeating myself, Drew Doughty and Warren Fogle both on the ice today, both in full contact gear. Looks like they will be rejoining the lineup again. Phil Deneau took a maintenance day. He wasn't on the ice. Jim Hiller was asked about it. Jim Hiller simply said it was a maintenance day. No further comment after that. I did ask Jim Hiller about the difference between the first power play unit and the second power play unit in the game against Washington, because I felt the second power play unit looked really, really good. And the first power play unit, though it looked better than it has recently, it still didn't look great. And obviously, the goal that got scored, the game-winning goal for Washington, didn't come on the penalty kill because their player had stepped out of the box, but it came right at the tail end of a power play. And so the question was, what is the second unit doing that to look so effective that the first unit is not doing? And Jim Hiller's answer was essentially just decisiveness, quick movements, quick shots, quick decisions. And my follow up was, well, can you tell the first unit to play more like that? I think the phrase I used was, can you, I think I said Dumoulin looked like he was playing within himself. He wasn't trying to force anything. He was just sort of doing the job. And the guys were just sort of playing their roles. Is there any way to tell the first unit to try and tone it down? I think the phrase I used was play less talented, which is not really what I meant, but everybody seemed to understand what I meant. And Jim Hiller said basically, what we'd like them to play faster, make quicker decisions so that their talent can be maximized more efficiently rather than, holding on to the puck and making slow decisions and giving the team a chance to set up. So we'll see whether or not the return of Drew Doughty means a change to the power play. They did not practice it today, so there's no reason to believe that any changes are coming, but I guess we'll have to wait till tomorrow to find out. I'm assuming the skate tomorrow will be an optional morning skate. If it is an optional morning skate and there are no developments or no updates, I probably will skip the morning skate video because, like I said, I'm not feeling terrifically well and I want to just get home and sort of rest up for the game. But if there is anything of note tomorrow after the morning skate, I will hop on and do another one of these. Generally speaking, if it's an optional skate, there's nothing to say because it's just, all right, 5 guys out there dipsy doodling around for 15-20 minutes and then they wrap it up. We talk to Jim Hiller for 3 minutes and then we're done. So yeah, basically it was a pretty short practice today, maybe 35-40 minutes. Could have been a little bit longer. It was weird because at the end it just devolved into the shooting drill where the team would line up and it was sort of became a thing of like once you scored, you didn't have to shoot anymore, but until you scored, you couldn't get off the ice. And so a bunch of guys scored quickly and then they were done. And then a bunch of guys struggled to score. Interesting detail. The nicest goals were by Muvarari and Sammy Hellenius. So go figure. But a lot of the end of practice was used on practicing that. And so there were some drills, there were some line rushes, there were some stuff going on, but no power play drills and not a full lineup. Because like I said, Phil Deneau had a maintenance day, was not on the ice today, but Drew Doughty and Warren Fogle were. So it's a short one. Does 24 really need a day off from practice or does he need a game or two off, says Dan. Listen, I've seen the comments. I don't know what to say. Phil Deneau does not have a goal yet. It seems pretty clear that he's struggling. The coach, I haven't seen the comments from last night after the game, but I heard that Jim Hiller basically said that Phil Deneau's lack of ice time could be seen as part of could be seen in response as an evaluation of his play. I've seen the comments from people upset at his play this year. Obviously, I have and will continue to express my bias in favor of Phil Deneau, but I'm not going to lie. He is struggling. The offense has not been there this year. I don't know how much of that is just that they keep switching his line mates. I don't know how much of that is just that he's not burying the puck. I don't know. But there are plenty of times where guys get maintenance days. So I don't think it's necessarily a negative that he was given the day off. Maybe a chance to just center himself or come back with a new energy. I'm not entirely sure, Dan. I don't know. You can text in any questions you have, 323-628-1008, or just throw them up in the comments section on YouTube, Facebook, or Twitter. And again, just to reiterate, Drew Doughty and Warren Fogle were both on the ice in full contact gear. Phil Deneau took a maintenance day, and Alex Laferriere skated in his spot at center. Now, it'll be real curious to see, because I thought I saw Alex Laferriere out at center in the last game against Washington, but I wasn't sure if the center had just been thrown out of the faceoff dot or if they were actually trying to play Laferriere as center with Byfield on the wing. My assumption is Byfield just got kicked out of the faceoff dot, but I'm not sure. Anyway, I realize this is a very short practice report, but other than the Drew Doughty and Warren Fogle news, there wasn't much to talk about. It was a pretty quick media availability with Jim Hiller. the media scrums were Warren Fogle and Sammy Hellenius. I did not participate in the Sammy Hellenius one. I was chit-chatting with some of the other players. And in the Warren Fogle scrum, that's, as I said earlier, it sounded like Warren Fogle would be back sooner than later, if not tomorrow than Saturday, based on the way he was talking about returning to the lineup. So looks like that is the plan, is to have Drew Doughty and Warren Fogle back in the lineup, if not tomorrow then Saturday. Which means I don't think they have to make any drastic roster moves. They have one open spot, so they can activate Drew Doughty, no problem, off of injured reserve. And I don't think Warren Fogle ever was placed on injured reserve. Let me just double check that real quick. But I mean, they should be able to just make that change, and it shouldn't be a problem. They have the roster spots. All right, so yeah, currently on IR is why is it not showing up? Sorry about this, everybody. Just trying to pull up the roster websites just to verify. On my personal spreadsheet, I've only got Drew Doughty on IR. Yeah, dead cap is my cringe. Yeah, Doughty's on IR, but Fogle is not. So they've got the space to just add Drew Doughty off of IR, and that'll be that. Dan says, congratulations on the drum celebration last night. Great percentage. Well, appreciate it, Dan. Thank you. I was very nervous, and I just wanted to not drop the drumstick, but I don't think I did. So a couple of people came up to me this morning and said I did a good job, including a player. So that was very nice. I didn't think the players had time to pay attention to who was beating the drum, but yeah, one of my buddies on the team said good job, so it always felt nice to hear that. Anyway, I think this is going to wrap this up. Just to refresh for everybody who joined in the last few minutes: Drew Doughty, Warren Fogle back on the ice in full contact gear. Looks like they'll be in the lineup, if not Thursday, then Saturday, very soon. And yeah, that's about it. So thanks for joining, everybody. Sorry this is so short, but just not a ton to say, and we will keep doing these. And there'll be a post-game show tomorrow night following the Chicago Blackhawks game. And the next time they have practice, which actually, let me just double check. Sorry, I know I keep saying I'm done, and then I keep finding something to look at. But looking at the practice schedule, it looks like there is a day off on Friday, then morning skate Saturday, then a skate on Sunday, which doesn't make a ton of sense to me because they're flying on Sunday. So, all right, so they're flying out on Sunday, but there's a skate. So I probably won't do on Sunday. There won't be one on Friday, but we will have post games Thursday and Saturday night following the game against the Chicago Blackhawks. And if anything happens at the morning skates or the practice reports, I will hop on here and talk about it. But otherwise, probably we'll skip the practice. There is nothing on Friday; it's a day off, and then Sunday is a travel day. So usually there's nothing to report on travel days. Anyway, thanks for watching, everybody, and we'll talk to you soon.